Good evening, everyone. We've already done our prayer, and today we'll begin the second chapter. Is it correct? Okay,
I think it's the
I
third.
third. Yes, it's the third. Oh, yes. I'm studying this book in Portuguese. I don't know. Uh, I know the book from the beginning to the end and from the end to the beginning, but I sometimes I become lost. The third chapter, it's called In Jerusalem. I think it's the second, not Grace.
Uh, it's the third. The last class we did the chapter two.
Yes. Okay. So that's right. The young Hebrew had never experienced such profound emotion. He was finally taken to a dump cell where for 30 days he immersed himself in profound thought. At the end, Jeziel had lost the rosy color in his cheeks. There was an indefinable sadness in him, and wrinkles foretold premature aging. However, in his eyes was the same sweet serenity, the result of his inner trust in God. The author of Proverbs had recommended serenity and serenity forth the purest founts of life. Giselle had kept his recommendation. He would learn how to hold on the treasure of hope, to go to the farthest corners of the world in search of his sister. Uh, it's truth. It's really the third chapter. I've lost the which chapter has every part. But we've seen Joshadeb. He was killed in the last moment we've seen, and Abigail, she went out of the anymore his sister. Followed closely by merciless guards, he crossed Corinth towards the port, where they placed him in the infectious hold of a galley flying the flag of the Roman eagle. You see, the eagle was the symbol of the Romans. I think we've almost told that. And all the galleys, the Roman galleys, they had the eagle. Probably the legions, the military parts of their army, each legion carried a symbol that of Rome that is probably an eagle too. Thought condemned to perpetual labor, Jaziel faced his new situation full of trust and humility. The foreman Lysippus marveled at his good conduct and his poised and generous efforts. He was ready for any work they've given to him. And he had a right way of being at all. He was used, Lysippus, to dealing with criminals and unscrupulous creatures who frequently required the discipline of the whip. But Jaziel, working the heavy oars with complete serenity, felt abundant pouring down, sweet pouring down his youthful face. The foreman soon recognized him worthy of respect and consideration. You see, it was unusual that a man condemned to life to work as a slave uh, reacted as Jaziel had reacted. Woe to us! Exclaimed a colleague. It's rare for anyone to bear this damned horse for more than 4 months. Uh, he was receiving Jaziel and told him, well, the median time that everyone dies here, it's about 4 months. But our work is God's work, my friend, answered Jaziel, highly inspired. Jaziel had a conciliatory formula for bringing harmony to the more excitable minds. The foreman was surprised by his caring behavior and his capacity for work, combined with the highest values of the religious education. There is an important thing that in the Occidental civilization we've lost here. Uh, the people from the old times, they believed in God. First, they began to believe in spiritual life. We see the Greeks, for example, telling that they left their bodies during the dreams. Uh, After that, we've seen uh, many gods that the old civilizations have believed in. But the one God belief, it's a higher concept because the God that was given, the concept of God, of one God that was given through the Jews, it tells to us about a God that cannot be seen everywhere out of our bodies. So we must think in what's higher, what's best in ourselves, in our inner heart, in our inner part. We say in the spirit or in the soul, and there we've got a concept of a perfect being that created us, and we have since then tried to believe, to understand his best qualities, and to become better ourselves as human beings. So if we've got a perfect example of God that is guided to our mind by our consciousness, we try to discover what is best in our inner self to try to live better as humans and not as animals anymore. We try to think, for example, the respect for other human beings. We try to be just. We try to have ideals in the future to create a better world to us and a better world to other people. So we think of our these best concepts and try to make ourselves better too. In the Occidental civilization, the human being believing in Christianism that was not that taught by Jesus, but a Christianism that was adoring the things outside the man. For example, uh, the power, the beauty of the churches, the many things that symbolize the riches and the powers of the materia. The civilization, the Occidental civilization, began to be confused because the people began to lost their center in the God that is in us, in ourselves, to think about a God that was in images, uh, in churches, in everywhere. We see the second commandment. It tells us to not have images of God, or anything which we adore. That is a very useful exercise. So we won't make from God a small imagination. We will think of God the better that we have in spirit. That's the important part. Uh, Beyond this, people began to believe in hell, a place where would be demons, creatures created from a god to be forever in the bed, and that we that are uh, discovering God in our inner selves, we see God is the perfection. It's the goodness. It's the well. Uh, the so it doesn't uh, stand up with the concept of a good God that we have in ourselves. So we see that is the reason that is important to not have images of gods, of things, to search spirituality out of us, because the perfect way to discover God is in us. It's all right, people.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh, so we were telling the because of this. problems with the Christianism. People began to not believe in religion, and the Spiritism came to us to first to tell that we have a spiritual life. The spirits came to us to tell to us, oh, you there in the world, in the physical world, are spirits that are in physical bodies. So they, the spirits, have been here reincarnated between us, and they are now seeing the true life that is the spiritual life. They tell to us that this experience here, it's the experience that lasts a small time compared with our spiritual life. That is important to remember now, because now we can understand all these concepts. But we see Jazel, he had his conduct, his right conduct, because he had a faith in a good and right and just God. He had no all he had not all these explanations that we have. So it's very beautiful that we must make stronger this belief in God in our inner consciousness, so we can have the life with more courage, with a better disposition to realize the God that is in us and in the other humans that live, in all living beings, we say. Would you like to say, Aline?
Oh, yeah. I think it's because that, because of what you say, that it's possible to be a good person, even though you don't have a faith, you don't have believe in God. But if you have a moral principles and you try to live, try to do the good, um, even though you don't believe in God, you can be a good. And even though you say that you believe in God, you can be a
Yes,
bad person,
yes,
right?
yes. The person who doesn't believe in God, we that person is in a world that tells, if that person thinks only in material things, I say in the material world, that is an unjust world. And we that see the thoughts of the spirituality, we are beginning to see that in all these reincarnations, we are having the consequences of the past and reincarnations. The Allan Kardec says that the wrong beliefs that the church had in the past make more people don't believe in God that everything. Yes, because the concepts the church said to men make many people don't believe in God. All these concepts we say, we have said here. Yes, the we are having here the the knowledge that Jesus has a more beautiful vision of himself, because he knows he's a spiritual being that goes beyond this life. A particular opinion, my opinion, I think that every one of us, for example, me, Anna, Grace, Aline, Frank, for example, we are complex human beings. We have a lot of of feelings. We have beautiful ideas. For me, uh, personally, it's too much more difficult to imagine that we don't finish. It's not to force a belief. It's to think, well, each one of us has a complex thought, has complex feelings, has experiences that are very beautiful. So I believe it's not because of fear of the uh, I have in the future, of what I don't have seen after the death. I believe in this spiritual life because I see the the spectacular human beings that every one of us is. It's that the point. It's that we have another kind of point of reference that if for example, would be only closed in a material world. So we live very much in this material world. We must live very well. We must use this material world, but use it to develop our spirits. That's the quest. That's the thing. It doesn't matter so much uh, what happened to us in the world. It has too much importance how we deal with the situations, how we deal what with what happens to us. This is the point. It's as we will see the Jazel here because I think I've uh, went out a little about out of the book. But Kevin to this book again, that big ship anchored at Cephalonia, and upon there the galley took on a distinguished Roman. He was called Sergius Paulus. His destination was the port of Paphos. The captain, Servius Carbus, had reserved the best accommodations for him. Well before they anchored again at Corinth, Sergius Paulus came down with a high fever and purulent ulcers covered his body. People were whispering that an unknown plague was raging around Cephalonia. Today, we would say, oh, it be a new virus that is, for example, we see this illness that we are seeing. It have killed many people in the past. It could be a bacteria. We we have the black pests in the median ages that killed one third of the population of Europe. But before it went to Asia, to to Africa, or at the same time. I couldn't say precisely. But the fact is that after 3 days, Sergius Paulus had become almost completely isolated. The captain called Lysippus and asked him to appoint an educated slave capable of assisting the eminent passenger. That very afternoon, Jaziel entered the patient's cabin with the same serene spirit. Sergius Paulus, delirious, flailing his arms, and that aggravated the ulcers bleeding all over his body. He was flailing his arms and probably hitting his arms in the bed. It has made him bleed more. From that moment on, Jaziel devoted himself to the sick man with all his heart. Balms, essences, and ointments, excuse me, were mixed and applied with extreme care. Jaziel talked to him about God and recited old passages from the prophets, heaping comfort and fraternal care on the patient. Sergius Paulus understood the gravity of the disease, holding his dear friends at bay, and during these days, the young Hebrew developed an affection for his good and humble caretaker. Oh, excuse me. And during these days, with Jaziel, he developed an affection for his good and humble caretaker. Some days later, after Jaziel had fully gained his admiration and recognition for acts of unsealed kindness, the patient entered into rapid convalescence, bringing joy to all. I would like to remember that I am reading only a part of the book because it's too much more poetic. It's because of this that I sometimes mistake myself because I'm reading from one phrase, jumping another phrases to another. Yeah, it's because it's we are adapting the book to be reading as we were seeing a play in the theater because uh, in we couldn't read this book in a good rhythm without these resources. Go on. However, Jaziel began at that moment to show the first symptoms of the unknown disease raging in Cephalonia. You see, Jaziel himself was beginning uh, to have that symptoms. The captain, called Sergius Paulus, nearly recovered and asked his permission to throw the young slave into the sea. And he says, listen to that. It would be better to poison the fish than to risk the danger of infecting so many priceless lives, declared Servius Carbus with an evil smile. Ah, I don't know how he was smiling. Yes, but it was he was thinking really in throwing the man who had brought Sergius Paulus to life again into the sea because of the illness. What is the lad's situation? Asked the Roman with interest. Lysippus liked the youth from Corinth, that is, Jazel. Lysippus liked him very much and tried to faithfully portray a picture of his good behavior, his distinguished manners, and the beneficial moral influence he exerted over his often desperate and insubordinate companions. That's very curious. The captain that didn't live with Jazel wanted to throw him in the sea. But the foreman, Lysippus, began to tell his qualities, so Sergius Paulus hear better of that man. Sergius conclude, I owe the slave my own life. I know Licinius, and if necessary, I can tell him later. When will you be arriving at the port of Joppa? The port of Joppa was the port in Palestine that went to Jerusalem. Tomorrow night. Well, I hope you will not oppose my plans. I will take Jaziel in a skiff to the shore, pretending to be in need of exercising my muscles. There, we will give him his freedom. But, sir, said the captain hesitantly, I will not accept any restraints. Licinius Minucius is an old friend of my father, told Sergius Paulus. Well, write in your records that the slave Jaziel was attacked by unknown but an unknown disease caught in Cephalonia and was buried at sea before the plague could affect the crew and passengers. He's probably too weak to successfully overcome the culminant phases of the disease. He probably will die, I thought. Or he tried to convince to say to the man so they don't oppose that plan themselves to that plan. The captain and the foreman, Lysippus, exchanged a knowing look of implicit mutual agreement. Servius acquiesced. The young patrician shook their hands and said, listen, that is very useful to us because even he been superior in a social position to that to that person, to those people. Uh, he he told to them, probably very sincerely, yeah, you have done my conscience a favor, for which you can always count on me as a friend. People in our society is very strict to accept friends. He himself, the Romans, they were very famous because they made friends and dedicated them very much a good friendships. Yes, Sergius approached Jaziel, who was half asleep near his cabin. "Oh, sir!" exclaimed the young man. Both were speaking in Greek. You see, the Greek Empire had become dominant about the third century before Christ. Um, we can say more. The Greeks were dominant by the fifth century before Christ. In the third century, the Roman Empire uh, was growing, and in the second century, it has conquered all the Mediterranean. We've seen that. So they say the Romans conquered the Greek, but the Greek culture conquered the Romans. They were they have adopted the gods of the Greeks. They have adopted many customs of the Greek. Sergius asked to Jaziel, "Do you know the common language in Palestine? I learned our mother tongue in my childhood. I am son of Israelites," Jaziel said. "Jaziel, you know that you are ill. The captain intended to throw you into the sea. However, tomorrow afternoon we will arrive at Joppa, and I'll take the advantage of it to give you back your freedom. I am violating certain important rules, so I would ask for you secrecy regarding the matter." It's uh, it's a just thing to ask to Jaziel. "I know that the disease will assume grave proportions. Only your God can grant life to you." You see, the Romans have their gods, but he told Jaziel, "Only your God can grant you life," because he had now respect for Jaziel, for his way of behavior. "In case you do survive, you must be a new man with a different name. I'll obey you in everything, sir." Sergius ended. I'll give you some money for your immediate needs. And on the following day, as the first stars began to twinkle in the night sky, a small skiff approached the silent shore, crewed by two men. The Roman quickly returned to the galley with a clear conscience. Jaziel had to sit down, racked by pain all over his body. Imagine yourselves with COVID, yeah, but in a severe COVID, yeah, that's like uh, he was, or more, because COVID gives sometimes not too much pain in the body, but difficult to breathe. Yes, I had it before the vaccine. The vaccine. He wanted to think about his good fortune at having been set free. He wanted, Jazel, to focus his mind on the image of his sister. But a strange lethargy paralyzed his faculties. Nightmares dominated his physical repose. At dawn, he woke up at the contact of unknown hands brazenly going through his the pockets of his tunic. Someone was putting the hands and the pouches in the pockets of his tunic. A cunning looking man was bending over him. Jaziel shivered and made an involuntary movement upon seeing that the unexpected assailant, assailant had raised his right hand holding an instrument, probably a knife, and about to end his life. Don't kill me, friend, he murmured with trembling voice. Jaziel said that man, ready to kill him. But as he asked the man, he told one more thing. I'll give you all the money I own. And the little money the patrician had given him, he gave it all to the stranger. Oh, you are exceedingly generous, he murmured. Money is always good. When with it we can acquire man's understanding or mercy, Giselle said. Your kindness dispenses any outside elements for winning good friends, told that man. What's your name? Ireneus of Crotona, at your service, told the man. My friend, exclaimed Jaziel, I am ill. Could you tell me of any place or anybody who could be charitable and give me shelter. Irenaeus said, I'm sorry. The truth is, everybody is ready to practice evil, but to practice the good, after thinking hard for a few moments, he added, Ah, now I remember. I know some people who might be able to help you. They are the men of the way. Emmanuel tells to us that that was the way, men of the way, uh, the Christians, and the way, the first name that the Christians called themselves. By the scoundrel turned benefactor, Jaziel came to the door of a humble looking house. A pleasant looking elderly man shook hands cordially with the young Israelite, saying, Where do you hail from, my brother? Jaziel marveled at such affability and politeness. Why did he call him by a family label reserved for the innermost circle of persons? Why do you call me brother? We are all one big family in Christ Jesus. Jaziel didn't understand. Who could be this Jesus? A new God for those who did not know the law? He thought, oh, that must be really a new God. Every day they have a new God. Jaziel answered simply, May God reward you for your generosity. I have come from Cephalonia. I was taken badly ill. I appeal to your charity in this condition. Anyone would like to say anything about this story to this time, to this point?
It's just curious and interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about what is going to happen.
You see, Emmanuel, he tell us with many psychological characteristics of the people of the story, of the persons of the story, we can say.
I I just I want to cry when you were reading, because when you think who he was meeting and you say, "Oh my gosh." Now the story is gonna be good, because it's,
No spoilers.
yeah, no
Yeah,
spoilers, but
yeah.
yeah,
I
I'm
it
kidding. I'm
I
sorry.
have
You couldn't miss the opportunity.
I have heard many spoilers. You haven't no idea. I may tell you later.
nah, I don't say any spoilers, but I can
I
say that
understand
I got
what do you think.
emotional, because it's always when I think back of this time, it's got me
You
emotional.
see, it's such a a kind of details that he tells Emmanuel about all the places, about all the persons, that is difficult to a very talented writer to write about one thing of that. We remember that Francisco Cândido Xavier had the primary school only 4 years of school. Yeah, and that's a thing that makes us to think, well, there is really more gods between the heaven and the earth that the vain human heart can think. Say to us, Anna.
I don't know who he's gonna speak to because I didn't read the book.
Ah,
I
yeah.
can imagine, right? What I wanted to comment is to make a comment is about the previous part that he was sick, that he arrived and then he was sick and he needed help. I keep thinking when I'm sick, I'm not the best person to have a chat because I'm really like not standing myself. And sometimes when we are not feeling well or if we have a problem, we really feel like we are the only person at that moment that is passing through something hard. And we really want that the other people mind their own business because we are suffering, right?
Yes.
And even though he was feeling bad, he was trying to walk, he couldn't. And he was laying down, and a person tries to kill him, and he is able to say something good. He is able to say something like, I know that you're passing through something hard, but don't kill me. I give you the money. And he knows how to say the right word at that moment. And here, in the moment that we are having in our evolution process on Earth, sometimes when we are on our best, we know the right things to say. We really put ourselves into thinking about the right things to say, how to be a good person, how could I help that person? And he was on one of his worst times of his life and he could do the good. It's so hard. It's so challenging to do good in the many many on the many situations that we have in our lives that it made me think. It really made me think about how we must be open to that. Sometimes we will not be our best, like I will not say the right thing, but we have to try to do something. We have to try to think better than it was yesterday. Maybe if it was a little bit, but we can try to take a deep breath and try to give something better than we gave 30 minutes ago, 1 hour ago. So it is very important to be aware of all the moments that we have in our lives because sometimes they pass and we lost the quick opportunity that we have to be good, not only in those major situations, but be a good person for our our relatives, our husband, our wife, our children, the children that are around us, because we really need to be that person that will be better for us and for the others every day, every minute, every hour. It is the work that we have to do, right?
That's very significant, Anna, because our minds it have food, mental food every moment, and it may be something that where we maybe have talked other times in our life, but we must every time give good food, how your words, to our minds, because if we don't give a good food to our mind will search for a bad food, for pessimism, for depression, for good feelings. So these are the things that are over the readings, are the humans being that we are. We are cultivating, we are doing our needy exercise of renewing our days every week. Yeah. Would you like to tell and to say something, Adi?
Yeah, yeah. It's Anna just make me remind about what Emmanuel said to Francisco Cândido Xavier, that is discipline, discipline, and discipline. Because to keep us aware about how we speak with each other and try to be Christian in this speech, and in every moment of our life requires so much discipline, discipline, discipline.
Yes.
So yeah.
A very uh, soft thing is that discipline means our will. We must have discipline to use our will to conquer ourselves, to do what we think is better in our lives. We have discipline not to do the will of the others, but we think that is best in the life. Yeah.
Just one another quickly comment, August. Um, make me think also about the where this book was written, and because I think Grace and Hannah doesn't know about that. That is this place. Can I talk quickly about it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Clearly.
yeah. It's one of my favorite place, and we are very lucky to be from there, right, August?
I
Anna and
doesn't
Grace.
know there.
Yeah, that is a shame.
Yeah,
Shame on you, August.
I live very near to the city where this book was written. Yes.
Yeah, because it was in Pedro Leopoldo that this book was written, and was because Chico worked for the Department of Agricultural, and was a farm that he worked at, and this farm was in Pedro Leopoldo, and this the boss allowed him to use one office, one room under his house to write at night. And you now, when you go to Belo Horizonte and you can visit Pedro Leopoldo, it's like 30 minutes, 20 minutes by car. And you can go to visit there, and you can enter in the room. When you enter in the room and when you walk in the farm, it's amazing energy that is there. It's really a blessed place, and that is still having something there. So it's really I'm blessed to have the opportunity to went there, and to be there, and I recommend for everyone has the opportunity. The name is Modelo Farm. So everywhere when you are in Pedro Leopoldo, everyone can tell you where it is. And it's really amazing. There is a guide, and the guy explain you everything about how was the work of Chico there. Thank you. It was just that I want to comment.
Aline, I haven't remembered to yet. Once a time, I was going out of Grupo Sheila in Belo Horizonte. It's the place where I used to go. Now, after the reunions are restricted. Uh, but once a time, I in the end of the reunion, I knew an old man, maybe with his seventies, in his seventies, and I began to talk to him, and he told me that he lived there in Pedro Leopoldo. He was in Chico's reunions. He was a serious man, with a good-looking serious man, and he told me, "I've seen Paul and Stephen be written." Uh, I was so surprised,
Shocked. Shocked.
surprised that I didn't do anything. Oh, it's very nice. But I must have taken his phone. I was a teenager. I must have taken his phone. And until today, I say, oh, what haven't you done? But let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you all. Any comment, extra comment, something like that?
I
Uh,
think it's time
close, right?
to Anna to say, and then maybe Aline wants to talk more. Say to us, Anna.
Thank you, Aline, for saying about the Modelo Farm. It is so nice to listen to people that lived in Minas Gerais about that, because of the internet, it was possible that I listened to some podcasts. There are some names that are familiar, for example, Geraldo Lemos,
Yeah.
Haroldo Dutra Dias, that does an extensive work and share with all of us from other states. So it is so good to be able to have this type of information and listen to stories about Chico Xavier. And that it's very important because it brings us close to the meaning of the spiritism and to the meaning of those simple situations that happened, the abacateiro tree, avocado tree,
Yes.
and many other things. So it is so nice to have the internet helping us to have so many informations and meaningful stories and meaningful knowledge, right? From everywhere in Brazil. So thank you for sharing. It's always so good to listen about it.
Eventually, we will share. Haroldo was in this. We were in the same meeting of youths when we were very in the last millennium, too many decades ago, where we were in the same meeting. I know him. Uh, the best book one of the best books. It's difficult to tell, but to about Francisco Chico, it's one written by Marcel Sotomayor. It's I'll send you in the group in the WhatsApp the name. It's fantastic. He wasn't spiritist. Yeah, he was a reporter of Global when he was younger, and then he decided to write about him. He has a very good reading. Thank you.
He was the book is the base for the movie of Chico Xavier. They
Yes,
use it. Yeah,
yes,
Daniel Filho, he used the book as a base, of his historical database. So it is. I never read this book, but I'm start
It's
to want to.
it's very nice. Oh,
I have
very
read the Beautiful Cases of Chico Xavier by Ramiro Gama. It's the one that is one of my favorite. Have you read that?
yes. I don't remember if I because my memory is of an old man of 100 years with Alzheimer. Yes,
Okay.
it's like that.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I think it's a time we can talk after, but let's finish the recorder. And we really appreciate the patience of those listening to us until now. And we hope that you have enjoyed this class. As always, it was really nice.
Yeah.
So
It's not patience. It's a spiritual pleasure.
yeah. um. So we're gonna make our prayer tonight, and we raise our thoughts to God, to the spiritual friends. Thank you them for all the support, the inspiration, all this love that we can feel right now, knowing a little more about this story, about the life of our lovely Francisco Cândido Xavier. We thank God for the opportunity of this humble soul had to be between us. We thank God for our model and big inspiration that is Jesus. We hope one day we can be more aware about our feelings, about what we say, how we react. Maybe we can try this week, we can try this night to be more kind with our brothers and sisters. We raise our thoughts for those who suffer more than us, for the sick in the hospitals, for those who has terminal disease and has no hope to be cured in this world. But we believe that in the spiritual world, all of us will be cured and free. We thank you, God, for this opportunity. Stay with us, Jesus, today and every day. So be it.
It was beautiful, Lini. Guys, thank you.